now what we are really going to see and do is get our minds full with knowledge, because no knowledge ever gets wasted. Yes. So with that we get to the next session, which is really interesting. It's on deciding between the best of international and domestic brands. Well, post-COVID, we've also facing, the sports fraternity is also facing a lot of this kind of challenge where we've seen a lot of domestic new equipment brands coming up, and the sports person have to really scratch the brains to choose the best. But why delay here when we have the best moderator for this session? So I invite Mr. Jaideep, President JLL Hospitality, a dynamic personality. He works with JLL India and Asia Pacific offices to integrate best practices to ensure seamless service delivery to client. We have 3 speakers, and here is going to be a little different. He is more interested in coffee with Karan, and I was just thinking he resembles somebody. I think the dimples represent HRAWI. So yeah, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. So we are going to change.
This was not part of the script.
No, it's my impromptu. That I'm awake and alert. Okay, so we have 3 speakers, and so is going to call one speaker at a time so that you have all the attention and you really understand what's the best brand. So for that, I invite the first speaker, Mr. Kapil Chopra, founder of the Postcard Hotels and Resorts, India. A persona with unique style and thought that made their hotels run full until the second wave of COVID hit. Yes? Thank you. I'm not announcing the next speakers as of now. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Now that the whole afternoon has started with Karan Johar and followed by Shah Rukh Khan, and you will say the voice resembles Farhan Akhtar. I may not need to sing as well. It's just getting more and more difficult. Let me make it easy. I don't know why I am here. You see, the way I see it, we at JLL, we are commentators, we are analysts, we are brokers. We look at your business, we don't run your business, but we look at your business from a distance. You do it best, we just analyze it and perhaps assist you to do it better. After COVID, while all of us were suffering, we were suffering too. For us at JLL, I proudly say that all buses have come together on the bus stop. We have traded about 1,000 crores worth of assets in the last 6 months in the hotel and F&B space. Oh. Why this data is important is not to brag about us, but I think it is important for all of you that finally the money is moving and so is business. To talk more about it, I think we should straight away get to the one and only Kapil Chopra. And why I say that is, from President of Oberoi Hotels, a great glamorous job, secure job, to founder of Easy Diner, to founder of Postcard, he's done it all. He's that one gentleman who's taken a lot of risks, very much similar to what you do in your daily lives almost every day. So I think it's a great experience for all of us to hear from the man himself, Kapil Chopra.
So thank you Jaideep, and congratulations on great results with JLL, but I wouldn't have expected anything less from you. So there's a disclaimer, Jaideep and I work together. So if he says very nice things about me, because we've kind of worked together for many years at Oberoi Hotels.
Scripted.
The journey was very simple. I read a lot, and I always believe that people can learn only 2 ways in life. One is reading, the second is traveling. Until unless you've been to Spain, you've been to Barcelona, you would not know that, is the voice clear or is it echoing? Is it okay? Okay, great. So you would not know that the Spaniards eat quite late, while the rest of Europe has a meal at 7 p.m. In Spain, I remember the first time I was in Barcelona, they told me it was a very happening city, so here I was dressed up at 10 p.m, down at the bar, and there was nobody. They said, sir, this is Barcelona, it starts at 1 a.m. in the night. Yeah, so it's a bit like India. So until you've traveled or you've read. So I think there was a seminal moment for me when I was president. I think when I was kind of 39 or 40 at Oberoi. I did 5 years as president, and the whole point was I was reading this book by Jeff Bezos, in which he says something very nice, and he says it's called the minimization regret theory. Yeah, so basically Jeff Bezos says that if you were 85, if you kind of made it to 85, if you were 85 and you had to look back on your life and you said, what is it that you should have done but you did not do because the social pressures were so high that you just could not do it. And that's why he quit a phenomenal job as an analyst to be founding Amazon. And for me, it was minimizing my regrets. I would always think that India could do another one super great luxury brand which could really be global. So I said I need to minimize my regrets, and that's what I did. It was very tough to go. So I still remember, it was 2017, it was 13th April. We just finished a review for a Mumbai, I still say we sometimes, but at Oberoi, they run 1300 rooms in Bombay. So I just finished a review of our 3 hotels that time there. And then we actually moved to Trasi at the Arabian Sea. We flew down to Mangalore, went to the Arabian Sea, bought a hotel, 13th April. 14 days later, at 9 p.m., with Mr. Oberoi, I told him, sir, I need to make a disclosure. As the president of a listed company, I am now in direct competition. I am planning to build a new hotel brand. So he said, well, we are opening the Oberoi Delhi, and you're the president. So, and we spent 630 crores, Kapil. And I said, I will open that hotel. Until that time, we would not do anything here, but I'm gone now. And the reason to buy the hotel, Jaideep, was simple, because no matter how glamorous and how much theories I tell you about minimization regret, to leave a job when you're running Oberoi as the president of a great company is quite tough. So I had to, I was forced, I kind of forced myself to take this.
Yeah, you had that in you. We will... कुछ कर नहीं सकते हैं, तालियां बजती रहनी चाहिए, but
story अच्छी है.
You know, we'll take a pause here, Kapil, and what we will do is we'll get to our next guest, who's again done phenomenal work, but in a different space. You've done luxury most of your life. Here's a gentleman who's done mid-market hotels very functionally, very efficiently, and is a legacy business, has grown it to new heights, the young and dynamic Suhail Kannampilly. Have a seat. Yeah. So I keep playing musical chairs, but Suhail, so similar story, a lot of risk, one owned hotel, a lot of managed hotels, and you were telling me the life cycle has been amazing, from a white label brand to an owned hotel to now the franchises and then managed hotels.
So you got the order a little wrong. The way we've operated actually is a little reverse from everyone else in the room here today.
Oh, that's more exciting. So
yeah,
that was intentional. That's why I got it wrong. I wanted to correct you. Okay, fine.
So we started as a pure white labeled management company. Okay, we were operating hotels, and that's what was our core focus. 2009, decided to launch a brand to complete the cycle. So we launched Fern as a brand in 2009. Moved away from white label hotels. So now we don't do any white label hotels. We only do it under one of our brands. And now moving to ownership. So that is a recent step. So completely from an asset-light company, now looking at a certain amount of asset-heavy business.
It's very interesting. And how many rooms now?
So in totality, we have a little over 5,000 rooms that we're operating. 99% of our inventory is all managed. We have just the one hotel that we are currently part ownership of, and we are also now looking at the revenue share and lease model.
Okay, interesting. And how many hotels across the country?
90 operational hotels. We've got another 20 in the pipeline, I think. And by 2025, I think we should easily cross 150 in the...
Wonderful. And what's the mix between leisure and business cities?
So guys, 30% of our inventory right now, not of inventory, of the hotels, actually sits in leisure. So it's still primarily business dominated.
And has COVID given you another direction to think?
I don't think so. I still think business dominates the market, but we also have a 30% of our inventory sitting in business locations, but in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. And I think that is a very strong market for us, and going forward also seeing a lot of growth in that. So just on this belt where we're sitting in Nasik today, we've got 3 properties that will be in the belt from here, from Bombay till Nagpur.
Very interesting. And how many rooms per hotel on an average?
So right now as a group we're hitting 69 as an average. Okay, but that is also because we do have an economy brand where most of the hotels are sub 40 rooms.
Okay, great. Let's take a pause there, and I've got another interesting personality. Ladies and gentlemen, the host, the man who's hosting all of us, along with the very dynamic Mr. Rishi Mehra, the CEO of Radisson Hotels Group, Zubin Saxena. May I please invite you? Zubin, I've always seen you as a host. Do you somehow feel I should be a guest also one day, and people should just host me and come close to me and say, okay, Ji, what do you want? Do you yearn for that? Every city you go, you're a host.
Yes, that's. I think it's a privilege to be a host. I would like to be that, and host you across all of our 70 cities where we have 110 hotels right now. Another 50 in the pipeline, and our vision is to go to 500. So, may God always give us the privilege of being a host to the lovely audience and the gentlemen here. And I have a little disclaimer here as well. We work together as well. So, his questions may not all be straight. Just for the disclaimer tonight. Thank you.
No, you can work with us. JLL works with everyone. Everyone works with JLL. We're very happy to have you work with us.
I'll tell you, Jaideep, before you take off. Right? So I was, I worked in New York for about 10 years. And I'm a consultant by training, by my first profession, and at heart. That's how I think. I think numbers appeal to me, strategies appeal to me, and having a scientific approach is how I like to see things, right? So there was the 2008-2009 financial crisis. And at that point in time, my client list in the US used to be all the Wall Street investment banks. So Lehman used to be, erstwhile Lehman used to be one of my clients, Goldman Sachs, Merrill Lynch, Credit Suisse, you name it, all of them. And I'll tell you, the first realization that I got that I need to get back to India happened over a call. And then, it unfolded very quickly after that. So we were on a call with one of the investment bankers, I will not name who, and we were working on a deal. And it was a hotel which was not really a superstar hotel, not in a superstar market. You knew that this asset doesn't carry value beyond a point. So we did our numbers, we came up with a valuation, and we said, you know what, you want to do this deal? We think this asset is worth X. And I'll give you the variables that went into the X, right? For some of us here who are, would like to delve into the financials, it was a deal which was 90% leveraged. It was a deal which was on a 30-year amortization, 30-year interest, 30-year loan term, and it was a deal which was at about a 6.5% interest rate, right? By the way, those are typical with the US market, not the 90% leverage term. And obviously our valuation was blown out of proportion, and we presented it to the bankers, and they said, you know what, we see more value in this. You're not getting what we're trying to do. And that's where I think we realized about 6 months before the world went into financial doom that there is something here that's not stacking up. The financial sense in this whole equation is not adding up. So so that happened, and within 6 months of that we had the financial crisis, and the market just evaporated overnight. Right? And there are a few learnings here. I'm sorry, I'm taking a lot of time here.
It's all relevant. I think it's very relevant, Zubin, that you're picking this up. Please go on.
So, and you know, I learned 2 or 3 things there. One was, of course, India was always an option. So coming back to India was kind of catapulted by that. But there was somewhere deep inside, and this was about 13 years ago, a belief that this is a market where the sun is rising, right? And that is where in 2010, India was at about how many rooms today?
More than 150,000.
150,000. At that point, we were maybe at 70,000, 65, 70,000 rooms.
That's right.
Market occupancy in India, by the way, in the year 2000 was 60%, 65%. Market occupancy today is 67%. Number of rooms in the year 2000 was 20,000 hotel rooms. I'm talking branded organized, right? Today it is near 200,000, near 2 lakhs, right? That is the strength of the market we are in, right? So came back to India with the notion that the sun will rise in this market. Worked with my dear colleague here, and that's where we did a lot of interesting things together. By the way, consulted for the Oberoi also as part of that. Yeah. And you know, and since then to now, I think the sun is still rising in India.
Thanks, Kapil. We did something right at that time. 3 years into that journey, serving the Oberoi and Mr. Oberoi. Mr. Oberoi finally asked me one day, and the Oberoi Gurgaon was just being built, and I was in a rickety office when I was called, and he says, hello, Jaideep, with a cigar in his hand, and says, why don't you work with me? And I said, but I'm already working with you.
Okay, they will make 80 crores again tomorrow. They will make 80 crores again Monday. That's what ICICI Bank makes, 80 crores. HDFC Bank, close to I think 105 crores a day net profit. But why do banks need the customers? Because banks need you to swipe their credit cards. So have you built a bridge? So at Easy Diner, why we did so well, we built a bridge. We told banks, how much money do you have? They said 100 crores. So we got 100 crores of marketing money. And all the banks are saying, if you go to Easy Diner today, ICICI, Citibank, HSBC, that I will give 500 to 1,000 rupees per table as long as you pay with my card on Easy Diner. I'm not funding it, you're not funding it, but think about it. The butter chicken here is paid by Citibank, ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, by any of the other banks. And you know what? They can afford it. But are they stupid to be doing this? No, the banks are the smartest people in the market. And the banks do it because the gross margins on credit cards are 4 to 7%. So if they make all of us in this room spend 10,000 crores, they take home 40 crores to 70 crores. So, just powering the transaction. So I think when you run restaurants, when you run hotels, always look at better collaborators who can actually help you increase your sales exponentially pretty much overnight. It's a very different way to do business, but I think the future is leveraging stronger balance sheets to fund your profit and loss statements, because you build a great platform, a great hotel, a great restaurant. Because I can go on, but I don't want to bore you to death with it.
Yeah, great. You've just given another segue to the question that I wanted to ask. That's not growth. You just said a thing on balance sheet. Now, Suhail, if I may come to you, you've grown exponentially. It's an Indian brand, started here, you had a very specific segment that you targeted, perhaps maybe just in time when the international brands were not looking at that space, or were looking at that space but didn't have so much wherewithal to scratch the surface and get into those markets where you managed. What does growth mean to you now? Do you think whatever you've done in the last 10 years you'll be able to do this given the impetus that international brands are also looking at that space? That's question number one. So what does that mean to you now, and how would you do that? And secondly, what is meaningful? What is responsible growth for you?
So, growth is actually extremely essential for us. The reason for it is that it creates visibility. We are recognized with our customers, but at the same time, what the customer is giving you is their trust, right? So, when you prioritize growth over trust, then you're in trouble. So, we have to ensure that we live up to that trust factor. And if that trust that the customer shows in you is held, I don't think there's really a challenge of international and domestic then coming into the picture, because the growth will continue. So you've got to hold that trust. It's not only the customer, it's also with the developers. So as a management company priority, our trust factor is also from the developers that build the hotel, right? So they have an enormous trust in us to ensure that they get their bottom lines, ensure that we take care of their properties, and ensure the maintenance is good, and ensure that their reputations are kept in hand. So these are the three factors that we keep even with our developers to ensure that their trust in us is maintained.
Very interesting. You basically summed up my two questions into one answer, which is trust. And that is responsible growth for you. Right. Zubin, same question to you. You may have a wider landscape, bigger and perhaps larger portfolio of brands. How do you look at, for India, the growth that you've been on? And I must also, before you get into this, we all were taking a tour of his hotel. Rishi, what a job well done. This is by far the best Radisson hotel. But Zubin's been telling me all the time to go see. Thankfully, we've seen it together. Kapil's here, Suhail's here. I mean, mind-blowing. Now, this also means, Zubin, that you have pushed the needle. Does this have an implication on the growth? It's a quandary. How do you address that?
No, I think, Jaideep, the answer is very clear. Okay, and I'll go a little bit deeper into this. See, first of all, we need to define what growth is, right? And growth, from my point of view, is actually three things. There are three stakeholders in the equation. You have owners who have invested in the property, their capital, and there needs to be real ROI growth. So I think that's very important stakeholder group. Second is your hotel employee, your staff. They need to have career growth in this. And third is your guest. He needs to have a superlatively growing customer experience at your hotel, and not one hotel, across the hotels. So that to me is what growth largely entails, right? So it's for us very clear. See, we are 110 hotels today. We've got 50 active in the pipeline. We will open one hotel every month for the next 5 years. Our vision is to go to 500 hotels in India. I can most definitely tell you that we will go to 400. Not a problem. But is that the growth we are seeking? I want to pause here. For us, and this is the realization that has come into us more and more now, that beyond a point, it does not really matter if you are 150 hotels or 151 or 149. Every additional hotel that you are selling, selling to the guests, opening for the owners, needs to be the right hotel which adds to the overall brand presence and the various stakeholders' involvement in it. So, sometimes you will add one more hotel, but you will go 7 hotels back. That is not the growth that we are after. To me, the answer to all of this, and I have actually been, Jaideep, it's a very relevant question you asked, introspecting this more and more often recently. I think it all just goes down to the fundamentals. Okay? And if you have the right fundamentals of the business will grow. Right? If you do the right hotel and the right location and the right project cost, hiring the right people, putting in the right guest service experiences, that will get you the growth. And that is what, by the way, we are all about now. So we have extensive focus on various stakeholder groups, deep strategies. But I do believe that if we have to grow, and we, meaning not only Radisson grows with the three stakeholder groups that I mentioned. If everybody has to grow, and this has to be a long-term relationship, we have to look at the fundamentals and make the fundamentals right. Sometimes it is the right thing to tell the owner, and being a consultant myself, and I'll say that with due respect, I believe the best consultant for the project is the owner himself. And Rishi would attest here, we had several discussions on this was being
As a management company, I don't have one partner on board. I have maybe 60 different hotel partners on board. And that's the difference. So each one of them is a partner to us. It's not just the one partner on the board. Because we've got to listen to them and we work there.
Good problem to have. Kapil, for you, because it's a new company, and by the way, you're also in that process of raising fund, and you've done it very differently. A bit of fairy tale-ish as well. So everyone would like to kind of understand and know that experience. How is it? Because they've also taken a lot of risk on their own, doing what you're doing, cowboys are.
So I think, the first rule of entrepreneurship is you need to be deeply, passionately committed to what you're doing. Yeah? The second rule of entrepreneurship, I remember, my head of revenue in my office, solid guy, still with me at Easy Diner, quit Oberoi. We both quit this kind of same day, kind of quit with me. And so many of my team members, I have Akanksha here, and she's head of running pretty much the best hotel in India, the Oberoi Gurgaon. They all quit. And so my thing to them has been that now that we are entrepreneurs, and I thought we did a great job at Oberoi and whatever. But if I was to come walk into the Oberoi and nobody recognized me, we should not feel bad. Once you join the entrepreneurial journey, you have to kind of deafen the outside voices. I can't listen to what you say. I will only listen selectively to what I need to listen to, because that's rule number one of entrepreneurship. You learn, of course you learn. You can't be like, I'll do it my way. But it's also about staying focused. You should be passionately driven to what you want to build. And there are many things that you can build. That's one. The second part is you need to be different. And I said it, I think I've said it already 2-3 times a day. One of the best lines, and it's not my line, but I was at a conference and I was hearing the head of Hillgate Capital, $50 billion fund, talk, and he said, in any business, you only have to ask for one thing. Whether time is your enemy or time is your friend. Think about it, huh? It's a very important line. Is time your enemy or time your friend? If Zubin is leading Radisson, and if Radisson is doing a good job, but Zubin is 85, is time his enemy or his friend? Time becomes an enemy because time may be running out, So you got to always think about business. So when Rishi decides to do a hotel like this in Nasik, which is quite grand for Nasik standards, his time is enemy or his friend, but in the next 5 years, very difficult for any hotel to come and meet him because he's already spent it out 10 years ahead. Or when, last night we were staying in a wellness village in Nasik called Viveda. Fantastic. And I asked Tejas, the owner, the same question. Is time your enemy or your friend? It's fantastic. So I think very divergent. Here it's very divergent what he's done in Viveda. To open a wellness village in Nasik for the first time, I said, heard of Sukia in Bangalore? But why would you do it in Nasik? And I'm very ashamed to say, but I'll still say it, but this is my first visit to Nasik. Yeah, so 2 things. One, that I'm maybe not very well traveled. 2, that maybe Nasik's not been marketed enough for people to come here and see what an absolutely great city it is. There are always 2 sides of a coin, yeah? So I think there's so much learning. So I think the second very important rule of entrepreneurship is, 1, be passionately committed and deliver. Second part is, be distinct, be unique. Build something that is totally different from the market. So if you think about it, when we did Postcard, we ran through 5,000 TripAdvisor comments at Oberoi and said, what are the 3 things that people did not like at the Oberoi? Number one brand, yeah, quite sober. And the 3 things were, people did not like to be asking for early check-in or late check-out. They hated it. I was not given a late check-out, I had a great stay, but I will not return because the person was not very polite, okay? Alright, because you had to pay, so you mentioned that. The second was, why does breakfast finish at 10:30? Yeah. The third was, alcohol prices are too high. So we said, let's change it all. So at the Postcard, there is no check-in time, no check-out time. At the Postcard, breakfast is at 3 p.m. if you decide to wake up at 3 p.m. Yeah. And at the Postcard, whenever you check into our hotel, it's unlimited cocktails for you. As many as you can drink. If you can drink 10, have 10. We'll never charge you. So the whole point was to learn from the best, but to be uniquely distinct on what you're doing. So 3 very important things on entrepreneurship. And then on raising capital will come. So a lot of people say, wow, capital will come. No, capital will come, and it's not difficult to raise capital. If you but selection of partners is more important. A lot of people in this room would have been entrepreneurs before it became fashionable to be an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur right now, but it's a very cool story. Yeah? He was president of Oberoi, quit it all to become an entrepreneur. बहुत ही अच्छा लगता है. But there were people 20 years back who became entrepreneurs. My good friend from Oberoi, Ashish Mora, at Justa Hotels. When he became an entrepreneur, it was not fashionable to be an entrepreneur. So my real respect goes out to those people. I think they deserve all the accolades. I think people in this room who started 20, 30 years back running their restaurant, running their small hotel, changing the game, I think you guys are the real entrepreneurs. You guys are clapping us on Barcelona.
So trust in the boardroom.
Capital raising will happen, be distinct, make your own brand, be passionately committed to it. COVID, no COVID, doesn't matter. It's just an exercise. Money will come. Terms are more important than valuation. That's a very important point I always make. People get stuck on valuation. I need to sell my company at this level, and I always say terms. So I'll give you an example. When we were doing Postcard, I can't take names, but you are very well aware of the names because you've been a part of the journey. But out of the top 5 richest Indians, out of the top 5 richest Indians on the Forbes, Fortune, any list, 2 people called me directly that let's do a hotel brand together. And in both those cases, my answer was, thank you sir, but I want a different direction in this space. Okay, and we could not take money from them. Because, there's a very nice saying, where does a 2-ton gorilla sit in a movie hall? That's a question. Where does a 2-ton gorilla sit in a movie hall? The answer to that question is anywhere it wants. It's a 2,000 kg gorilla. You can't tell him, go and sit there, I want to sit here. Yeah? So a top 5 rich guy in India is like a 2-ton gorilla. I can't tell him to do what he wants to do. So I'll never be an entrepreneur. I'll be just a glorified worker again. So I think capital raising is focus on the terms. I think that's more important. And capital will come. If you are thinking of being an entrepreneur, from all those people who are working, quit tomorrow. Just start it. There's never been a better time to build in this country. The next 10 years, just build, and build. Always build.
Great. Zubin, same question, but a different connotation to it, or a different dimension to it. I've also had the privilege of speaking to your folks in the APAC region. Last when I was there in Thailand, we all converged. And you also, very kindly connect me to the people globally. They look at India very proudly, and I'm seeing it from a Radisson lens. How do you manage those people within the firm right up there who are looking at India currently very proudly because of the journey that you've done, and also because the way you're sort of improving the game? How do you manage those expectations? Because again, it is very different and may have a spin to the same old question that on one side you have to grow, on the other side you also... Thank you.
I request the eminent panel to please be there, and I have to come back again, and I have to thank the Mira God for sponsoring this segment, this business segment, and I request Mr. Sandeep Talaulicar to kindly come up on stage to felicitate the eminent panel, the best storytellers. Yes. Please be waited. Please be waited. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.